What is going on, guys? My name is Doug. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I know I'm like 3 days late on this upload, but as I mentioned on the community page, I wasn't feeling so good, still struggling with a little sore throat. But we're here. We're going to be reacting to Paak's new album, Oxnard. I'm super hyped to listen to it. If you haven't seen my Malibu reaction that I uploaded last Wednesday, the link is going to be right there in the top right of the screen. Be sure to watch that after this video if you enjoyed this. My social media is all on screen. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, be sure to do so. We would love to have you as part of our family. We're almost at 3,200, I think, which is insane considering we just hit 3K like a week and a half ago maybe. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I'm really excited to be here with you guys listening to this. Track 1 is The Chase, and this is Oxnard by Paak. Let's see what he's got for us. This feels like the Old West. The whole tone to this is crazy. Hey, the build.
Retirement did I miss one? How we gon' get ourselves to back of this one? Get up from this, let's enlist it. Feel like a day and landed with the Pistons. Only real
that flute.
Got to the fork in the road, a split decision.
Crazy, it sounds so cinematic.
What's the difference between the poor and the rich man? Standing in line, I have a wristband.
Wow. This is crazy.
Hold on and ride for your own.
Hey, brought the funk in now. Let's go.
If your hands are in your heart, then it's home.
Oh, this is dope. Yeah. These arrangements are so sick. Yeah.
It may not be endless sex, but that don't take us out of here. Hold on.
Oh, the vibe. Yo, that's a crazy introduction track, dude. The introduction to this introduction, which is basically all instrumentals, sounds so like Old West almost, really tense and suspenseful, and like it almost sounds like there's a showdown about to go on, you know, where it's like just before a duel or something like that. And the strings, the flute going like crazy, just creating that tension in the track. Just for Anderson to bring it all back and just bring tons of groove and funk with that break all at once, with the bass line and the hi-hats and it's so beautifully produced. The strings, the flute, the drums, the horns, I mean, it's all just so cinematic. It just creates this scene in your head of everything that's going on. I think it's an awesome introduction, dude. Paak's production is always incredible. Next track is Headlow.
I ever tell you about the time I driving down the I-9, lady in the passage.
You feel the swing?
Just keep your head.
So groovy.
Just keep your head low. Soon as the lights out, she gon' pull the pipe out.
This is crazy.
She just wanna bust my car. And so I have to slow it down.
Yeah. It's cool because at that portion of the track, all we really have is the beat, you know, the drums, and these keys being played. I think it's on a keyboard, an electric keyboard maybe, or it's a synth, but we get these really soft keys in the background. So really the only melodic thing that we're getting is the vocals, because the keys are just so low you almost don't notice them. So it's just the vocals over the drums, and Anderson, and it looks like it's featuring Norel. Their vocals do all of the grunt work, carrying that melody onto this track and giving it a vibe. Because when you've just got drums, it's hard to give it a tone. You know, it's possible, but it's hard to give it a tone or a mood. Their vocals are doing all of that work right here, and it is really impressive. See here, the keys are getting louder, adding to the melody. The bass line. The guitar is so soft, but it's so good. The concept to this is insane. Hey, that switch up right here. This is sick. Okay, so in this track, it's basically all about him getting head from this girl basically everywhere they go, you know, in the car, in the movie theaters, and it's just all about that. Her keeping her head low so that they don't get caught doing what they're doing. Really funky, really groovy track. I mentioned what I like about the hook, where as soon as it comes in, there's not too much going on with the melody. It's basically just their vocals over the drums and the bass line, and I think that that's really dope. And I think this track's it's really good, but it's not amazing, you know? Because like the concept is kind of wild, and it's a little simple, and it's like there's not really a message to it, so that diminishes a little bit of the replay value, but production wise it's really dope. So I'm just gonna say that this track is really nice, and keep it at that off of first listen. Track 3 is Tints. This is the Kendrick Lamar feature. Never heard it.
I've been feeling kinda cooped up. I'm trying to get some fresh air.
Hey!
Hey, you got the roof out. You win the race here.
Oh, yeah! I love that drum break. That bass line is so sick. Yeah! I'm loving the synths, I'm loving the bass line, I'm loving the guitars, the keys, the background vocals. It's all so well put together.
Fuck, I'm doing fish bowling. 100 down on the passenger. Bitch,
yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, respect me from afar. Offended by the shit I got on. Like, can you buy that nigga 900 horse? Can you drive that nigga a G5? Can you fly that nigga?
Okay.
So I can look at
the flow.
Fine, so fuck a fix and ticket. You pull me over and might see one of your bitches.
That was a dope verse. I wish it were a little longer. This is awesome to dance to, dude. So funky. So on this track, he's stating the importance of his privacy and how he needs tinted windows so that nobody can see, you know, who he is while he's driving around town, what's going on in his car, because, you know, the last track had the girl giving him head in the car, so the tinted windows would prevent anybody from seeing that going on. Just the importance of him and having his privacy. Kendrick talks about the same thing, you know, having to get away from the spotlight and having tinted windows as a way of doing that. Yeah, it's, again, not much of a message. It's just kind of like a really feel-good song. It's got a really nice groove to it. It's got awesome production. It's got a really awesome soul to it, you know, and Anderson's voice, the raspiness to his voice just adds so much character and color to the track. Again, drums, piano, keys, bass, guitar, you know, horns, strings, everything that's in this was perfectly placed and mixed to just not sound muddy, but just sound incredibly soulful and groovy. And I think it's a great track. Track 4 is Who Are You? Guys, forgive my voice for faltering a little bit, that my throat is absolutely killing me. Got some Dr. Dre production on this too. Let's get it. Whoa, this is sick.
That's a nice getup. International, rockin' Japanese dinner.
This is so different. I love this. Oh, so many weird sounds. Different, but it's dope. It's a really cool experimental version of Anderson. I like it. On this track, it kind of sounds like he's enjoying the fame that he's got. You know, he never wants it to be over, and it's gotten to a point where he is more recognizable than other people, so he's asking like, who are you? Because he has no idea who the person is. It seems like that's what's going on here, but what I want to talk about is the production on this. It's so different from everything that we've gotten on this project so far, and from what I've heard from him, you know, on Malibu and stuff like that. It just sounds so different and weird and experimental, but it sounds really, really cool. I know for sure that I'm liking it. I don't know if I'm loving it. I'll need to listen to it again. But I do know that I like it. I like this direction. I like how different this is and how experimental this is. I think it sounds awesome, honestly. I think it's a cool new direction that he took on this track. It sounds dope. Next track is 6 Summers. I've heard a lot of good stuff about this, so let's see what he's got for us. This bass line's already filthy.
Trump's got a love child, and I hope that bitch is buck wild.
Yo! Wow.
I hope her mama's El Sal. I hope her papa stick around. Yeah. Since
things, big X pays my jack, rain off with clickbait. Truth is too raw, it's a fish plate.
Yo, this is crazy. This is also really different.
It's easier to get a 9mm. He was 19 with the burner. Reform shit that came sooner.
Yeah. This switch up is really smooth right now.
Shit that came sooner.
Yeah.
This shit gon' bang at least 6 summers.
Hey, drop the beat now.
We need more peace. Oh, you lying, my nigga. Now we don't trust you. We know you buy to sell it back to the public. Go, bro.
Hey.
You was overseas stealing niggas landing up. Billy Cup the Desert Eagle. It's legal to tote it.
Hey.
I smoke, drink, the coke.
This is crazy. See, what takes the cake on this track for me isn't so much the production, whereas the message behind it. See, on this one, the production wasn't that impressive to me. It was really smooth. It was, you know, still a little different, but it sounded really simple. It didn't sound like it was too groovy. It doesn't really catch my attention all that much. What kept me interested was what he was saying. And on this track, you know, he really talks to Donald Trump, the president, and really criticizes him for not really caring about what's going on in the inner city and about the gun violence that's been going on. You know, Paak goes the shooter, reform should have come sooner. Talking about he was 19 with a burner, but they shot him. The classic story that cops always say when they shoot a black kid is, you know, oh, he had a cell phone in his hand, I thought it was a gun. Something like that. Talking about how the president takes people's land and oil but doesn't care about what goes on in his own country. You know, someone take his phone away because he's starting a war on Twitter. There's profit to be made in mass murders and stuff like that, which is true. We're seeing, I just saw on the internet a couple days ago, they're training dogs to take down school shooters. Companies are making tools that'll hold doors shut so that intruders in the school can't get into the classrooms no matter how hard they try. Like, you can't even shoot the door open. They're teaching kids first aid so that if a classmate gets shot in front of them, they're able to stop the bleeding for long enough so that the kid can live if they make it to the hospital, you know? But they won't just take the guns away. So yeah, like he says, there's profit to be made in what's going on, and that's exactly what's going on. And I think that the commentary here is very necessary and very interesting to listen to. So like I said, the production didn't wow me, but what he said, I definitely agree with it, and I think it's very necessary. People need to hear this track. And I can see why so many people liked it so much. Next track is Saviours Road, or Saviours Road. Yeah, based on Genius, it's pronounced Savior, so. Whoa!
Get it back on my feet right now. Chopping up the weight I don't need. An ounce, a quarter, a pea. I would say faith, but you niggas don't believe.
This is crazy! Oh, this is sick.
They get it back for triple the profit, help them split it up. My mama get acquitted,
yeah,
and then help me see it before they get the drop on me. Probably could have been border patrol casually.
The flow is insane.
Control of it manually, and the hand till it's sailing to my knees right now.
Yeah, this is dope. Again, really different from what we're used to, but I'm digging this direction. Yeah, so apparently Saviours Road is the road that's on in his hometown of Oxnard, but in this track it's a double entendre. It's pronounced Savior because he's praying, talking to God, asking for these favors, asking for God to acquit his mother, you know, and to help him out in these situations, which I think is really clever. But also, production-wise, the first couple tracks really felt a lot like Malibu because of the funky, you know, groovy sound. But slowly, he's transitioned to this slower, more bass-oriented production, where it focuses really heavy on a really simple melody, either on a guitar or a keyboard, really focuses on the bass line and the drums to just hold it there, and it provides just this huge spotlight on what he's saying, you know? Whereas it's not about so much so the vibe, it's more about what he's saying and how he's saying it and his performance on this project. Whereas on Malibu, it was more about the whole vibe and mood and groovy and funky and everybody can dance to it. This is more like, alright, tone the production down a little bit, I've got something to say, but still keep it really wavy, you know what I mean? That's the direction that I'm feeling right now from this new project, and I'm really enjoying it. I think this track is really, really nice. It's really quick, well executed, and yeah, I'm enjoying this direction. Track 7 is Smile/Petty. Yeah, this sounds smooth.
Your actions speak something totally opposite. You have to pardon me, cause I am a dog, you see. And I ain't stressing my mama, in my arm, especially my auntie.
Oh! The snare coming in a little early, giving that bounce. Sounds West Coast. I like it.
She keeps me up and locked in the basement.
Yeah.
Why am I screaming at the top of my lungs?
This is funny, dude.
No help at all. He's out there alone to push you over his father paid off.
Hey. So on the first track, or on the first half of this track, we get, you know, what it is about my smile that makes you lie to my face. You know, do you think that my smile means that I'm just a genuine person who's trusting you, and you feel like you can lie to me, you feel like you can kick dirt into my water, and you know, stuff like that, just because I'm here trying to be good to you. You know, you're trying to take advantage of my smile, of my generosity, things like that. Which also ties into when he mentions in the second part of the track, the loan that he gave to a friend who still hasn't paid it off, you know, taking advantage of his generosity. And also talking about the relationship that he's got with this girl who's just driving him nuts because she's trying to take advantage of him, and she says one thing but acts another way. It's basically all about him getting back at her and her getting back at him, and just going back and forth with somebody who takes advantage of you and is really petty about everything that you do as well. I think it's a really funny track. The production on both halves is just really cool. I love the drastic switch up with the break. You know, it goes from like really smooth R&B to this really bouncy, funky, groovy West Coast hip hop vibe. Track 8 is Mansa Musa, or Mansa Musa, something like that. Featuring Dr. Dre and Coco Sarai, or Sarai. I'm terrible with pronunciation.
Back on my bullshit. I got some money to blow. I'm looking good, bitch. Who's sick? I might just cough up 100 bricks.
There's so much to take in immediately, like all at once with this track. The bass line, the bass that they're using sounds so electronic, you know, it sounds like it's a synth almost. And it's just this crazy bass line. It's not like a really simple bass line that's just there for holding it down. It's driving this track. We've got background vocals providing a melody. We've got bells and whistles. We've got the production and the vocals just all coming in at once immediately. So it feels a little overwhelming at first, but it's sounding, again, so experimental and so different.
Ain't so fuck the weather shit, you gotta love me. Now if you owe me mine, better run it. 100 miles and running, yeah, I'm coming still.
Have to bust around us on the hits, right? Yeah. Like what we going to do with all these hits over here? Smoking sincere, bar shit, how we doing? Crack music, top tier, nigga. Shut it down, my nigga, chill. With my
this is crazy.
Nigga, high as hell. Overachiever, nigga, I excel. If my name,
give me that. Real rich niggas never advertise that. Broke niggas always playing rich, putting on that act.
Yeah.
Nigga, when you're inside, look how my whole team shine. Hell no, blowing my door, I'm trying to keep mine.
Yeah.
That's no.
He's flowing like crazy on this project. Yeah, so on this track, he's talking about, I mean, at one point, he's talking about people who are poor acting rich, whereas real rich people don't really advertise their wealth. It really is just a flex track, but it's done in such a weird way. Like I said, the production's just so weird on this. The sounds that they use are just so crazy and experimental, and it might not appeal to a lot of people on their first listen. Like, I'm listening to this, and I'm not loving it, but I also don't think it's bad. Like, I want to listen to it again and see whether or not it really grows on me. You know, I think that it's cool that he's trying to take this new direction. I think it's cool that he's willing to experiment and not just be the same, you know? I mean, we don't need another 14 tracks that sound just like Malibu, you know? So I'm glad that this sounds different. I'm glad that there's a switch up, that there's a change, that it shows an evolution to him, you know, and to his music. I just don't know whether this change is really good yet or just dope, you know? It's just cool. And it is pronounced Mansa Musa, which I think is none of the pronunciations that I tried earlier. So next track is Brother's Keeper. That one's easy to pronounce. I got that one right, I'm positive. Unless he switches it up and it's like Brother's Kepper or something like that. Featuring Pusha T, let's go.
Niggas talking, but it's not too often that they living where they sleep. They got it.
This production's crazy. The guitar.
If Jesus would have had a better lawyer, would he they have to see the cross.
Oh!
Them niggas is true, I hope they don't do you like sleeping while I talk.
Wow, this beat's so dope.
Woke up at the top. Yeah, right side of the chair.
Let's get it.
My brother just turned down $500,000 for being one half of one of the greatest duos in hip-hop history.
And my
Hey.
And my brother's keeper, they still laughing about the duo.
Hey.
Lord is finding salvation, but I'm still rhyming about the
Hey.
the underground king, but the money's chasing the Rulo.
Wow.
In the safe, Cujo on it to all my other field niggas. You knowin' how I feel, niggas. Destroy and rebuild, niggas. That's the only way to build, nigga.
This verse is crazy. I love the strings that just came in. The vocals, the guitar, oh, the switch up in the drums. This is so smooth. Okay, so on this track, in the beginning, we get this really trap drum pattern with the bass line being in 808 and the crazy guitar samples just to really kind of set the tone for Pusha T's verse, which I feel is the highlight of this track. Talking about, you know, his brother No Malice and how they their paths kind of diverged. On Anderson's verse, he also talks a little bit about "Am I my brother's keeper?" but talking about his brother as in his close friends, and how he prays that in our inner circles there's no one that's fake or that's going to betray us in our inner circles, because if that's the case, then we're also going to be splitting ways, you know, and I'm not my brother's keeper, so I don't always have to be around him. That's kind of what I'm feeling here, is like the closeness of two people and then diverging, because you don't have to necessarily take care of one another, even though you would like to, because not everybody is trustworthy in your inner circle. We get a really cool, smooth, funky outro that kind of plays us out, and I think it's an awesome track. I love Pusha T's verse. I think that beat on the beginning is actually one of my favorites so far on this project. Next track is Anywhere.
Ducking fast from a peephole. 1989, gang banging was at its peak. It's the beat that make me reminisce, but every now and then I go scoop my little thing, pull up in my MC, banging new jack swing.
Hey!
Don't put the stove in a nigga gotta eat.
Hey!
My raps in the garbage for being an MC.
So soulful.
Just call me, baby. Call me. I'll have you scream and cry. Cheek to cheek, just like they do for now.
This definitely feels a little more like Malibu.
Well, we do it anywhere.
I'm loving it. Yeah, this track definitely is more reminiscent of his Malibu sound, where it's more of him singing rather than rapping like he's been doing on this project. It's more of him singing on that really soulful, groovy sound, you know? This feels really smooth. I'm loving the bass line. I love the keys, you know? The really smooth drum pattern. It feels almost more like a funk/R&B track. And it's talking about, you know, lovers and how they can meet up anywhere if they ever need an escape from the world that they're living in. And, you know, the Snoop Dogg feature was pretty cool. He got a little melodic actually in his verse, which was pretty dope to hear. And I think it's a smooth track. I like it. It's dope. Next track is Trippy. Oh, and it's featuring J. Cole too. He got a crazy lineup of features for this project. Let me just say, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, J. Cole. Crazy lineup, dude. That's insane. Yeah.
I can't get rid of you.
The vocals are awesome. The flute is so nice. The bouncy drums always get me moving, man.
You and without a space I could feel in the voice of the fan. Pick it up if you will. Heavyweight on my mind. Just a pretty brown dame with your head in the clouds.
You hear the delivery?
Came down the block, something sick, but it's rented. I don't give a fuck, bitch, either way I'm in it. I ain't gotta prove to you that I got bread. That shit wasn't the money, maybe it's the kid. Used to have a honey that I loved when we was younger, but somehow got disconnected before Facebook got so big. I used to search her name when I couldn't find her, had me feeling mad lame. Maybe she got married and she changed her last name. Maybe she just ain't up on
the flow.
Your hair tighter, ass gets it cool if I smoke, go ahead lighter.
Hey.
The fragrance I love, you smell perfect. No, I got it straight from the mud.
Come meet me right there where you always.
Yeah, that's so smooth. Starting off with the sample, you know, the funny sample where the guy's telling the story about how he went over the girl's house and there was no one home, literally nobody there. And then bringing in the instrumentals with the flute and the vocals and just really bringing you into this track. And then bringing in the bouncy drums, dude. I love that clap. I love the hi-hats. I love the J. Cole verse, man. J. Cole's such an awesome storyteller, one of the greatest storytellers out there right now. Just everything he says, you can picture it perfectly in your mind. Such an awesome track. Talking about reconnecting with a girl from their past, you know, and trying to meet this person in the middle. And so it's just this trying to reconnect, but it's just such a smooth track. It feels so good to listen to. It's smooth, but it's bouncy. You can play it for many different situations. It's an awesome song. Next track is Cheers.
Where I'm going from here.
I love that.
As long as the runway is clear, music business moving too fast for me. Wishing I still had Mac with me, yes, Lord.
Yeah.
Your television, wishing I could save. What was I to say? I was doing dates, dipping in and out of state.
Yeah, that's so sad.
Get up, too late. Now is this really what I want? Is it really worth the pain? Now am I really an asshole? Fuck what you say. Do we don't feel we live for today?
Oh, I love this snare.
Hey, bitch, I'm losing all my aces. I'm running out of patience. Got some pretty faces up in high places. I got some new neighbors. You don't really say.
Oh, so dope. That's so smooth.
They gon' really miss ya.
Yeah.
There's no one to blame. I may be the point that I'm missing, but I needed a minute. Just give me a minute.
Oh, the switch up.
Reminisce and face the pain of back in the days before you were dog and you would just cup. Banging beats and bringing bitches back to the tour bus. Visions with memories in the intersection. Looking in my rear view, wishing I could be near you. The freeways of my mind are crowded with troubles, mamas. Don't know it's harder fighting trauma or keeping the promise. True confession, breath is a blessing without a question. But niggas don't get the message from here.
This is so nice.
I know there must be some.
Yeah, this is a great track. It's featuring Q-Tip. It's talking about basically going on without a couple of the friends that they had that passed away, you know, and trying to keep promises that they made to these friends, you know, by sending flowers to their mothers and by living in a way that their friends would have wanted them to live. You know, he mentions Mac Miller and how he wishes that he could have saved him, but it's hard to even be there for your friends when you live a fast-paced lifestyle just like they do, and you're always in and out of state, and you're doing shows, and you're busy all the time. And so the production is so smooth and it's so bright and happy, but the message here is just so sad, you know, that they wish they could have done more for their friends and that they're missing them, and it's really painful. But I feel like making the track a little happier and naming it Cheers is basically like a celebration of their friends' lives instead of mourning that they passed, you know, which I think is definitely appropriate, and I think it's an awesome track. Track 13 is Sweet Chick.
So I'm headed to a wild just to be up in it. Off of Rivington, we fucking us a sweet chick.
Wow.
Vegan on a weed.
I'm loving the vibe, the horns.
Me a freak bitch. And she nasty, she wild, she a free spirit.
Yeah.
To me, she go look with it. I'm at peace with it. Come on, peace, kid. Yeah, ain't much. Look, okay, I got every time we go to dinner, shit is free of charge.
Hey.
Got a skater bitch. She a gamer, gotta take her to arcades and shit.
Wow, this is so fun.
Grandmama gangster too.
Yeah.
The drama keep the llama in the days of do shit.
I love the piano in the horns.
She gon' shoot up the roof. Tell my bigger homie how abusive she is. Nigga, no one would believe me. They like you just a bitch. Had to buy some.
That's so funny. This track is so funny.
If she bachelor, she coming back and close she in.
What?
Gotta have.
You got a what? Oh, your bitch is flexible. You got low-key bitches now. Fuck them.
Alright, so this track is absolutely amazing. He's talking about all these different women that he's got relationships with. And not necessarily relationships, but that he hooks up with because he lives in the spotlight and he's always going from town to town. And these are just the kind of girls that he encounters. And each one's got a different personality. And I mean, it's just so hilarious the way that he describes each and every one of them. It's almost like a skit, you know, towards the end the gangster girl finds out about all the other ones and then she threatens to shoot him and all that. I love the production. I love how glamorous it feels, the horns and the keys, the drums. I mean, it literally feels like something that could be played while you pull up to like a red carpet event, you know, and it's all about being in the spotlight. It makes so much sense for this track, and I think it just puts in that, it just adds that mood so perfectly to this track. I think this is one of my favorites off this project so far, just based on how funny it is and how well he delivered it, left to right.
They walk on me cannibal. Celebrating like it's carnival. Left hand, signal. Bury the food, the cantaloupe. Now strike a pose for the camera, yo. And go left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right.
Yeah.
Fool with it. Sit it down, I got the fool with it. And they can know just what to do with it. Real life, I know you miss me like you miss Obama. Real time, I've been good, fuck it, I'll give them my love. Always encourage a nigga growth. Get it out.
At this point, though, I've lost interest in the track.
Left to right, left to right. Get how I grew up.
Yeah, it's okay. Alright, so that was Left to Right. Now, I'm gonna keep in mind that Sweet Chick and Left to Right, these last two tracks aren't necessarily part of Oxnard, they're two bonus tracks. The last track is actually Cheers, featuring Q-Tip, which is, by the way, the perfect track to end the project on because of the message and how fun it feels, and reminiscing on the friends that they've lost and paying homage to, you know, their friends, including Mac Miller, and the lives that, you know, they cherish that just were ended so soon. Ending the album paying homage to them is the perfect way to end it. And then he gave us two really fun bonus tracks. Sweet Chick was really cool and one of my favorites and really fun, and I said all the things that I liked about it. Left to Right is more of a track that you can just play to dance to. I kind of lost interest about halfway through it. You know, it wasn't that great to me. It was cool, but that was about it. This project is absolutely very special. I love the change in direction. I love the focus on the lyricism and the actual verses on this project, whereas Malibu was more focused on the production and on the vibe that the songs had to them. You know, here, experimenting with different sounds and songs that were more driven by the bass and the drums, whereas Malibu had more melodic tracks, you know, keeping the guitars and the keys kind of to a minimum on this track, on this project here, allows him to fill in those gaps with vocals and with lyrics and with lyricism and the messages that he brought to the tracks, you know. I thought that the experimental sounds were cool. I want to listen to it again to really gain an appreciation for it. All in all, I feel like Oxnard is definitely, like he warned us, it's a change in direction. It is a very good change in direction. I'm not certain if it's awesome or if it's great or if it's really necessary yet, because I'm going to listen to it again and find out, but it is a good change in direction. It is very interesting. I love the lyricism. I love the message that he brought with this project. I love that it ended with an awesome track like Cheers. I love that he provided necessary commentary on social or on society, along with tracks that will make you laugh. And lightheartedness and that mixture of funk and groove and soul with hip hop and even some trap sounds. It's really well put together. It's got lots of cool sounds on it. Anderson .Paak's music is timeless. I'm sure this is going to grow on me a lot. He had an all-star lineup of features on this. So if you haven't heard it, definitely check this out. Check out Malibu, and I'm also going to be checking out his other projects. A lot of you recommended them to me. Thank you all for watching the video. Thank you all for being here and bearing with me, because I know I took a while to upload this. Thank you all for supporting the channel so much. My social media is all on screen. The link to my Patreon is in the description if you'd like to become a patron. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. Check out a couple other videos if you're not decided yet whether you want to subscribe or not. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you all very soon with Floss by Injury Reserve. Peace.